What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys my Week 3 team builder for John and the New Orleans Pelippers. Now, for you guys who don't know, me and John are two of some of the oldest coaches in the GBA. John originating from Season 2 of the GBA, myself from Season 1. He and I have quite the storied past. We've kind of gone back and forth. He's beaten me in a handful of matches, especially recently where he has combined being 2-0 with a 12 differential, meaning he's beat me 6-0 twice. The past two times that we've played, the last time I beat him was Season 3 of the GBA, when I had the likes of a really stacked team, Karen Black, Alakazam, Staraptor. That was also the same season the GBA collapsed. So, I haven't beaten him in a really long time. And my objective this season, obviously with John being in my division and Mono, also someone who has beaten me a lot, in the past two times I've played him. Them being in my division, I'm really motivated to beat them. And that is exactly what I'm going to do this season because, like I said, my previous matches, I'm here to play. I'm here to prove I'm not, actual garbage, and I'm going to show that. So, we're going to look at John's team. His team consists of Mega Diancie, Garchomp, Cresselia, Serena, Jolteon, Escavalier, Tornadus T, Tentacruel, Piloswine, Hariyama, and Houndoom. Now, looking at his team, Garchomp is his Z user. We do see Mega Diancie. I know for a fact that he was going to take Piloswine because this is a mon that he is very good using. Also, that category fits the likes of Jolteon, Escavalier, as well as like Tentacruel and Hariyama. Things I've seen him use before, and things I know he's capable of doing well with, but it's also not something that I'm going to be surprised with how he is going to use. Just because I've watched John for so long, I kind of understand his play style. I understand how he sort of preps, what he does well with, what he's good with using offensively, defensively, of things of that nature. So, looking at his team, certainly the biggest threats are going to be the Mega Diancie, the Tornadus T, because my team kind of struggles with Bird Stab. Not only that, but the pivot's going to be really nice, and the Regenerator. So if he slaps like a Life Orb, he can get some good damage off. If he slaps an AV, he can live, hits from Rotom. He can live special hits from Swellow. He can live especially hits from Mega Houndoom. So I know that thing's going to be somewhat of a problem. I also see potentially Mega Diancie doing well, assuming I don't have Scissor healthy or, gets KO'd somewhere along the line before Mega Diancie does. Garchomp could be a problem, especially being a Z user. And then after that, it's just kind of a lot of pivot mons or bulky mons that, while they may thrive in certain matchups, I do believe that with my team being very pivot heavy, I can ensure that matchups stay in my favor. So looking at his team, I don't necessarily expect Houndoom or Serena to come, just because I feel like a lot of things on my team really do threaten it. Like Landorus threatens both of them with its stabs. I could pivot around Serena and Houndoom with the likes of Scissor and Swallow and Rotom. And I mean, Serena's going to lose to Mega Houndoom, and I think he has a lot of better answers for my team and the likes of his other mons, especially them being AV, whether it's a Escavalier, whether it's bulky Piloswine, whether it's Tentacruel, which does a really good job at handling both Scissor. It checks Scissor offensively, as well as checks the likes of Alomomola, and if it's Spadef, it can certainly live and take on Rotom with the likes of Giga Drain. So, Escavalier kind of questionable. The things I do see him bringing, I think Tornadus T and Jolteon are really good dual pivot mons for his team this week. They're very fast. They can outspeed, Tornadus can't, but Tornadus outspeeds everything that's not Swellow, which Jolteon does outspeed. I see Garchomp, Mega Diancie also being, good offensive powerhouses for his team. I believe he needs to bring Piloswine because that checks Landorus T, especially if it is an offensive set. And he can just, go for Ice Shard, get off a lot of damage, and if I'm below a certain percent, I'm sure with his investment or even his nature, he can knock me out with an Ice Shard. Besides that, Hariyama is really good to check the Mega Houndoom and to check some of my lesser hitting Spadef Pokemon like Rotom. It also pressures my team offensively because I really don't have a lot that wants to take on a close combat. I mean, Diancie doesn't want to take a close combat. Rotom, Alomola, Scissor doesn't really want to take close combat. And him, knowing him that he's going to run AV, I can definitely see that thing coming as well. Tentacruel, like I said, is a really good pivot and also a very nice check to Scissor, Alomola, and can take on Rotom. So what I expect him to bring, Mega Diancie, Garchomp, I expect Cresselia. I didn't talk about that, but it's pretty obvious. It's a fat thing. It can Calm Mind. It max defensive checks Landorus if I'm not a +2 with like a Sword Stance. I don't see Serena, Jolteon, and Tornadus. I can definitely see. Escavalier might be a little bit of a A little bit strange, but it could come. And then Tentacruel, Pile of Swine, Hariyama. I could definitely see 2, maybe even all of them coming this week. No Houndoom, no. So we're going to go to my team. My team this week is going to consist of Landorus T, Rotom, Scizor, Swellow, Alomomola, and Mega Houndoom. I may have spoiled some of them in talking about John's team, but that's just kind of like where my mind has been focusing on. And a lot of my other mons haven't really been brought just because they've struggled in certain matchups. Roserade was kind of considered in this matchup, but it brought in a lot of things, especially Tornadus. Cryogonal, not really. Mesprit was also kind of not really considered. Diancie didn't necessarily thrive this week either, and that should pretty much cover it. Just overall, I believe that this is the best team I could have brought this week, and we'll see how we do. So Landorus is going to be a Z-Fly SD set, as the item there denotes. Everything, every mon here was shown, every mon hit the field, every mon's item was shown. Believe me, there's no secrets this week. It wasn't as rail straight line as I was versus Necro. But Swords Dance Z-Fly, this thing is also going to be running Earthquake, obviously, because it's a Lando, and because Earthquake, once I knock out his something like Tornadus or even Crest with Levitate, Earthquake does a lot of damage to the vast majority of his team. Besides that, the last move wasn't shown. I'm not going to explain the EVs just because, like I said, this is a divisional matchup. I'm not going to go into the team the same way Necro didn't go into his team. Just it's a me thing. I'd like to save the surprises in case I can use them next time. Next up, we have Trick Scarf Rotom with Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, and Defog, as this is my only reliable defogger, as it is most weeks. This thing is going to be able to just be able to effectively pivot around his team. Having the Scarf allows me to cripple the likes of perhaps Piloswine in case he wants to come in on a Hydro Pump. It allows me to cripple potentially Cresselia if he wants to stay in, or if I draw it in thinking that he can take a hit from like a Volt Switch or a Hydro Pump. And then there's Hariyama I could also cripple. He has a safe-ish switch with Garchomp in case I do go for Trick, but Garchomp's not really going to like a Hydro, and I mean, he can bring in like the ground types, but once I dump off my Scarf, I'm not choiced. He can't really bring in Piloswine, and Garchomp's not really going to enjoy a Hydro Pump, especially if it is an offensive set. Like I said, this is going to be Pivot, Trick, dump off a Scarf, cripple something. I could also cripple like Scavalier if he brings that as well. I mean, if I get the Assault Vest, I'm not going to be able to defog, but I'd like to prevent rocks before I Trick. Or if I really value crippling something, then Trick immediately and ensure that something doesn't become a problem moving on throughout the entire match. Next up, we have Choice Banded Scizor. Another very common set that I've been bringing. This is obviously going to carry U-Turn and Bullet Punch. The last two moves were never shown, so I'm not going to explain what they were. This thing is going to be pseudo-bulky, but this thing, it threatens a vast majority of his team. Being a banded set, Bullet Punch, he has so few resistances to it. Tentacruel, if it's defensive, can resist it. Houndoom, if he brings it, can resist it. But if he has Houndoom, I'm just going to U-turn. Mega Diancie is the main reason I'm bringing it. If I go for BP, I just straight knock out, Mega Diancie, and I would force him to switch, which I can also read in case he wants to try and pivot out into something. I can go for U-turn, get off big damage, against, like, if he wants to bring a Tentacruel, he brings a Tornado, stuff like that. But Bullet Punch, U-turn, and then I have, coverage moves. I mean, if he brings Serena, Queenly Majesty could effectively check Scizor, but if I go for U-turn one time, Serena is dead, and I've killed all of its children for the next generations with a banded U-turn. So Scizor here is super nice. I can pivot out on like Jolteon, I can pivot out on Tornadus, I can pivot on Tentacruel. This thing also kind of checks Piloswine in case he wants to use it to revenge kill Landorus. So I like Scizor this matchup. This is going to work very well with Rotom. Then we go on to another U-turner that I have. It's going to be Swellow. This thing is going to be a physical set this week, as shown by the Flame Orb. I haven't brought physical yet. I have mostly brought special with Boomburst and Hurricane. This thing's going to be running Facade and U-turn. It's also going to be running coverage moves that weren't shown, so I'm not going to explain them. This thing's going to be able to outspeed Tornadus T, and if I, based on the fact that it is offensive with the Guts boost, if I get Tornadus to below 87%, if it is max HP, I can knock it out with a Facade. So basically, if I get any sort of chip damage off on it, if rocks are up, then I just go for Facade. He can't bring it in on a switch, and I can knock out the vast majority of his team, assuming Piloswine gets knocked out before Swellow does. The only real way that he can knock out Swellow is with A, Jolteon, but that thing can't live a lot of the priority on my team, and I do have things that can effectively sort of take on Jolteon. Roam's going to be the primary thing. I also, Bullet Punch, Jolteon can't really chew a Choice Banded Bullet Punch, and then if he can't really switch in on things, and rocks, if those are up as well. So, Facade here, if I get rid of Piloswine and Jolteon, this thing could really do a lot of damage. You know, Crest can sort of take it, but I also have U-turn, so I could pivot out on Cresselia. Overall, I think Swellow is going to be a very, very good late-game win con for the vast majority of this match. Everything else on his team really just doesn't enjoy Facades. It doesn't enjoy U-turns, doesn't enjoy Swellow, period. So, next up we have Alomomola. This is going to be a Spadef set. This is going to be my main check, 2 Mega Diancie. Is going to be carrying Liquidation, Wish, Protect, and Ice Beam. Ice Beam is necessary for Garchomp in the case that he tries to set up in front of me. If he tries to go for sub, I can break subs. Liquidation is there in the case that Cresselia wants to go for sub and potentially Calm Mind. So Liquidation, and it does a lot of damage to AV Tornadus. I believe upwards of, like, in my mocks, like 21 to 30%, and if he's not running HP, it's like 38%, which is a lot of damage. And it's nice coming from a fish that has base 75 attack, and with no investment, that's a good chunk that I like to see, because, you know, talking about the whole Swellow thing, you know, get that chip damage, ensure that I can facilitate KOs later on for Swellow. But this thing is just going to be able to pass wishes, and anything I do pass a wish into is going to basically get back up to full HP. Swellow has a relatively low HP stat, Rotom especially. Lando and Scizor, while they're going to be bulky, once they get a wish, they have the HP to live in certain matchups, in certain ranges, based on what I'm seeing. So if I go for a wish, I can pretty much just get those mons back to full and ensure they can do what they do best, being sweeping and putting holes into John's team. Alomomola, I feel like, is going to be the glue that holds a lot of this offense together, especially this week, because we've seen in other weeks where, you know, defensive Rotom or defensive Diancie have been the two things that have taken the massive majority of the hits, but being a bulky regenerator mon, being able to pass wishes is going to be really effective for this matchup. And then finally, we have Mega Houndoom. This is going to be a primary Cresselia check. This is going to be a taunt set. It's also going to be carrying Dark Pulse and Super Fang. Super Fang is going to be there for the likes of Piloswine, Hariyama potentially. If he is AV, this is going to be his primary switch-in. Once I go for a Super Fang, it pretty much ensures that Hariyama doesn't get Drain Punch. So once he switches in once, gets Super Fanged, can't really take a lot of hits moving on, especially with the pivot that's on my team, and any sort of priority once it's at 50% or below, it can't live anything else from the things that are faster than it. This thing also can get a lot of damage off on Piloswine in the case that it, you know, wants to stay in. I can go for Super Fang. It can knock out Piloswine, get it down really low. Dark Pulse can flinch it potentially. I can also, you know, get good chip damage and a lot of, you know, damage off on, you know, potentially Chomp because I am faster. Crest. This is the main reason that's there is Crest. I can taunt it in case it wants to sub or Calm Mind. If it is Psychic HP Fire like I expect, this thing just shuts it down. I can taunt it in the case he wants to go for T-Wave, wants to go for sub. I can go for Dark Pulse to chip it down. It also draws out if he has a Cold Burberry. And then I also Super Fang so that he can't recover up when he's taunted, and it allows me to facilitate a KO much nicer. Last move wasn't shown, so I'm not going to explain what it was. But this team is going to be really nice. Like I said, Alomomola is going to be the primary thing that heals most of the things. Rotom's going to be there to potentially cripple things. Swellow is the later game win con. Scizor is going to be a breaker. Lando is going to be a setup breaker, and then Mega Houndoom is going to be there to cripple things as well as draw in certain things for matchups that I could get a Super Fang off on or otherwise taunt, shut down a lot of the problems if I deem them as such. So that is the team. Hope you guys are looking forward to the match tomorrow. I know I don't sound like it, but I am very excited for this match. I've been looking forward to it since we got the division shown to us. You know, the fact that I get to play Mono twice, the fact that I get to play John twice, I'm super excited to play him. He is a friend of mine. I hate him when I play him because I hate the fact that he beats me so bad, but I'm so excited to play him. I'm so ready to beat him, and I will beat him. So, check out the match tomorrow. It's going to be coming up at about, well, I guess you guys don't know that because I don't even know when it's going to go up. So I'll talk with John about when time the match is going to go up, but I'll see you guys there. And this is the team. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let's go Sharpedos. I know I got a great shot, and I know you guys think that as well. So I'll see you guys then. Later.